excited about today's show. This is our second episode. We're all about the community engagement. For those of you who don't know me, I am Malika Gardner, one of the hosts for Where the People Meet TV, and you'll be meeting our other two hosts in just a second. But this second episode is called Seating the Right Leaders, and we know how crucial that is, especially right now. I am terrified. I don't know if any of you are a little scared right now. Some people are happy with the way things are going. I'm a little concerned. But I thought it was important that we all get together and just start talking about seating the right leaders, how important that is. Just this land that we're on right now, some leaders had decided back in 1927 that Black people shouldn't live on this land right here, so they literally picked their houses up and moved them to the 5th Ward along the canal. So what leader decided that? Yes, so we have to be very, very careful. And it took for Stephen Rogers, he's a former Northwestern professor, took his own money, $1 million, and bought this land back just to restore it back to Black ownership. And we love amazing people who just do that just because, for principle, right? It's only right. So I think about leaders who made those decisions back then, but what about the ones that are making the decisions now, nationally and locally? We had a leader that was caging families. I think some people have forgotten that. So we're going to get started. I'm going to ask my two co-hosts to come on out. We have Sebastian Knowles. All right. And we have Wojo, Mike Wojciechowski. We're all about all views, not just one view here today. But do you get concerned about the caging of the families and things like that?
There's a number of different issues that I try to take everything into perspective. I've known people in the past that have voted on a single issue, which I think is very sad, to say the least. You know, they have to take into account a politician's record and how they've interacted and how they've supported their constituents that voted them into office.
No, but I think that's very fair. During my times, especially when I was working on a campaign for a candidate who was running for mayor of Chicago, I noticed a lot of folks across the city that were often focused on one singular issue. In particular, we would spend a lot of time with folks that were really big on public transit and bike safety and infrastructure, and having conversations with those folks. I mean, I met people who were incredibly left-leaning, and then surprisingly, there were some folks that were very in favor of mass transit that were also incredibly conservative. And I thought that those almost went against each other, right? But they were so focused on that one singular issue that you almost miss the fact that, hey, look, if you're supporting one candidate that is pro mass transit, right, and improving the infrastructure that we have, and that is important to you, you may realize that the rest of the issues that are important to him and are a part of his platform actually make sense, right? And that we shouldn't just focus on any given one issue.
You got to take the good with the bad. If that's your candidate, then okay.
Well, looking forward to this special guest that's coming up next after the break. We have Governor Pat Quinn. Yes, he's going to be giving us some information. What does it take to be a leader? And the red flags, that's what I want to talk about too.
Oh, 100%.
And he's got an initiative. He's about democracy. I love it.
He's always doing something.
Absolutely. We'll be right back.
concept of people coming together, getting an opinion of the people who live, the people who live in Evanston, and and the nice mixture of socioeconomic, different people groups, ages. So, yeah, and plus I don't really know Malika, but I wanted to find out what this was.
So this was the third episode, and it keeps getting larger, and we need more and more people to come out and really participate and be engaged. We need to be engaged in these time periods. So come out and be engaged, ask the questions you want to ask, find out the information you need to find out. This is an important year, better now than any time, so thank you.
Happy to have you all here and happy to have this amazing audience here. And it's my pleasure to introduce our very special guest, 41st Governor of Illinois, serving from 2008, 2009, all the way up to 2014, 2015, and has really done some fantastic work and continues to do some great advocacy work here in the state of Illinois, and has led some fantastic work and has assisted in our community here in Evanston, especially with Evanston Voter Initiative. So it's my pleasure to introduce up to the stage Governor Pat Quinn.
Yes.
It's an honor to be here.
It's an honor to have you.
Definitely.
Well, I just told Sebastian, I always admire anybody who gets in the arena to run for office. Teddy Roosevelt said a long time ago that those are the people who really stick out in our democracy. Win or lose, they have the courage to get in the arena and give their ideas out to the voters. It's very, very important to have that, and don't give up here. You have a long way to go.
No,
Okay?
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. You know, and you're someone who comes from such a rich background, and especially serving as one of the highest offices in the state of Illinois. You know, you have a unique perspective, and you've seen a bunch of different candidates step forward, folks being elected into office. You've seen the good and the bad. What to you has been some of the most important qualities that you see in a leader that's, you know, responsive and good to their constituents?
Well, I got to be governor on a day in January in 2009 when my predecessor got himself arrested, impeached, and then convicted on that day of 29th of January. So I was lieutenant governor, and I got sworn in about 5 o'clock that day. My mom was there, my godmother, my brother's family, and so on. But it was kind of scary back then, to be honest. You had an ethics crisis with Blagojevich. You had the national economy and the Great Recession. And then we also had a terrible time with our state budget because of the loss of jobs and everything else. So, you know, starting out with 3 crises, that's not easy being governor. But, you know, I said that then, and I asked the people to pray for me. And there was a saying by I went to Northwestern Law School long ago, and there was a great judge named Brandeis, and he said the highest office in a democracy, it's not president or governor or mayor, it's the office of citizen. And that's really what I see this all about, where the people meet. We've got to understand that every person has a role to play in our democracy. Every person who is part of our democracy, that's why I believe so much in petition passing, because when you get autographs from people on a piece of paper to put an issue on the ballot, they're part of the lawmaking. They're the people who really count. And I think we need to have more of that here in Evanston and all across Illinois and definitely our country.
Yes.
I've been doing that for a long time. A friend of mine told me, He counted up, I've been involved in petition drives that got more than 4 million signatures in Illinois. And a friend of mine also said, you know, you're going to be in a nursing home someday circulating a petition with a clipboard. And I think that's what we got to do in Illinois. We need more grassroots democracy. You know, you mentioned he had to spend 6 years as governor with Mike Madigan as speaker. And he's going to be on trial this November for, he's accused, alleged of taking bribes from Commonwealth Edison. And we'll find out what the jury says there. But, you know, Commonwealth Edison is a very powerful utility in Illinois, very powerful. But we started a group a long time ago called the Citizen Utility Board, where anybody could join for $5 a year to fight against the big utilities, to have a voice for the consumers. And we did it with a petition drive. We put it on the ballot in Chicago and a variety of other cities, and we got it passed, and it became the law. It's 40 years old this year. Matter of fact, I'm meeting up with the executive director tomorrow for lunch, and we've got to keep that movement going. They've had over 100,000 members over the years to take on ComEd and AT&T and People's Gas and all the other big ones, Nicor and so on. So, you know, it's grassroots democracy that's the strength of our country. It's not the big shots on the top down. It's guys like Sebastian here on the grassroots up, making things happen.
Governor Quinn, you know, we have a lot of drama going on here at Evanston. a lot of red flags popping up, a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah.
And when you call the leadership out on it, it's like, oh, that didn't happen. And then we just keep on going as if it didn't happen. How do we handle how do we get people, one, do not ignore those red flags. It means something.
You know, right after I got sworn in after Blagojevich, it turned out we had 2 governors, former governors of Illinois, in jail at the same time when I was governor. You have George Ryan in jail, Rod Blagojevich in jail. And I believe not only in initiative and referendum, there's another part of direct democracy, and that's called recall. And recall, I said we need to have recall in Illinois, so the voters, if they don't like what's going on with the governor, they can do something about it. A lot of our Midwestern states, Wisconsin and Michigan and Ohio, they have recall, and a lot of states around the country. And so I said, we drafted a constitutional amendment, we put it on the ballot in 2010, and the people voted for it 2-1. And it turns out that recall is something in the Midwest especially you can have for mayors and local officials as well. And here in Illinois, Arlington Heights and Buffalo Grove and Wheeling, not too far here from Evanston, all have recall. So if people who are in office, whether it's a mayor or someone like that, if they're not doing the right thing, if they're breaking their promises, voters can recall them before their term is up. And in a lot of ways, recall is an accountability measure that keeps the incumbents on their toes, not just at election day, but every day in their term. So if they're breaking their promises, if they're ignoring important issues, they don't get to shuffle them under the rug. People can circulate a petition and at least have a recall election. And they just did this in Enid, Oklahoma. Turns out one of their aldermen there went to Charlottesville a couple of years ago and was holding torches and promoting hate. And it was very interesting. You know, Oklahoma's quite a red state, a Republican state. But Republicans and Democrats got together with 2 women in their town. 2 women organized a petition drive to recall that alderman from office before his term was up. And so it shows that it's not used all that much, but it's a good tool to have for the voters, strengthen the voters, not the office holders. Let people who are voting for the office holders have more power. And recall, you know, you mentioned, Sebastian, the Evanston Voter Initiative. Here in Evanston, a university town, if you look around the Midwest, almost every university town in the Big Ten, now it's got about 16 members now, but whether it's Ann Arbor or Columbus or Madison, Wisconsin, all of the people in those university communities have the power of initiative So if they want to pass an ordinance, they don't have to just wait on, okay, council members, will you please listen to us? They can put it on the ballot as a referendum. And I really think Evanston needs that. And the city council here in Evanston and the mayor, let's get going here. Let's not just stand on the side of the road and watch the world go by. They have, again, initiative in Arlington Heights, which is almost exactly the same size as Evanston, and we need to get it elsewhere in Illinois.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's, I've pretty much lived in Illinois all my life, mostly in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And I've seen a number of different scenarios with politicians and, you know, how people vote for the seemingly the right candidate. And since you mentioned our two illustrious incarcerated governors, I used to have a joke that said, you know, I love the state of Illinois, where the governors really do make license plates.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. You know, it was kind of a tough time. You know, when we had the corruption scandal, we had to pass tough ethics laws to really, you know, straighten things out after Ryan and Blagojevich. And I wanted to get even more, but Madigan, he wasn't for that. And he wouldn't even call the bill, you know. And, you know, you mentioned something that's kind of interesting. There's a proposal now in Chicago. That's where I live, in the west side. I lived in the same house for 41 years. And it's in Austin. And, you know, the Bears want to build a new stadium.
Yeah.
South of Soldier Field. I was with some veterans today, right there at Soldier Field. You know, we remodeled Soldier Field into a spaceship about 25 years ago.
Yep.
Okay, it's a, you know, it's a very workable stadium. But no, the Bears say, no, it's not big enough. We want to tear it all down. They literally want to demolish Soldier Field, build a new stadium on public land next to the lake with public money.
Right.
Well, what happened in Kansas City last month? The people of Kansas City voted in a referendum on whether or not they should use their taxpayer money to help the Kansas City Chiefs and the Royals, the baseball team, build new stadiums. And the voters said no. We like the Chiefs, we like Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, they were both urging a yes vote. We like you guys on the field, but we don't want to pay for the field. Let the team pay for the field.
Yep.
And that ought to be the message to the Bears. Matter of fact, Malika, here in Evanston, we could put on the ballot an advisory referendum for November 5th, when we vote for president. Should taxpayer money be given to the Chicago Bears? And that's Illinois taxpayer money, keep in mind, from all of us in every part of Illinois. Should they get money to build a new stadium? Yes or no? I did a poll on this. More than 2/3 of the people say no right now, but let's give them a chance at the ballot box to vote on this. You know what I'm saying? And we got to get the council to think about that here in Evanston. And I'm doing the same thing this week in Chicago and in other towns in Illinois. They call the initiative and referendum process the fourth branch of government. You've got the legislature, you've got the executive, you got the judges and the judicial. But about 125 years ago, right here in Illinois, people like Jane Addams, they were for the fourth branch of government, giving people with their petition power a chance to put important issues on the ballot that the people want. Right now, that's going on all over our country. Raising the minimum wage was oftentimes done by referendum. Even in Arkansas, they passed a referendum to raise the minimum wage. So, you know, we gotta make sure we give people a chance to get reforms that they feel are important, not just what the insiders want.
Yeah, do you think we can get that done here?
Yeah.
That would be awesome. If we had that kind of people power.
Well, we got a young man over here. You know, I've run for office. I've won some and I've lost some. Okay, never give up, really. It's important to understand that, you know, when you get out there, knock on doors, run a campaign, people like that. Even if they, you know, you don't win the election, they like folks with courage, men and women who want to make a difference. And here in Evanston, there's a proud tradition of social justice and giving people a chance to advance themselves. But we want to come up with reforms. You know, when I was governor, I had the good fortune, really, of going to the White House. Barack Obama was our president. He got sworn in 9 days before me. And so he wanted me to come to the White House and talk to him about straightening out his home state, Illinois. But his big issue was the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. Obamacare means I do care. And we had to pass that through the Congress. And then what happened? Well, the Supreme Court said every state has to, on its own, accept Obamacare, Affordable Care Act. Well, it passed the Senate in Illinois pretty easily, and it had to go to the House. All of a sudden, Mike Madigan, he won't call the bill, and I kept asking him, please, call the bill. It's worth, for 1 million people in Illinois to have health insurance. And finally, we got him to call that bill, and it passed, and I signed it into law. And it was a great reform done by the people of our country demanding reform on health care. I was with my doctor before that. His name was Quentin Young, Dr. Quentin Young. He was a very famous doctor. He's president of the American Public Health Association. And we wanted to advance health care. We got on the Centennial Bridge in Rock Island, Illinois, and we walked from the Mississippi River all the way to Chicago and Lake Michigan for decent health care for everybody. That was our mission. If you want to lose weight, go wait till August. It'll be about 90 degrees every day, and walk 167 miles across Illinois. You'll lose 15 pounds. That's what happened to me. But we really got the message going with people, everyday people we met along the way. And Dr. Young, he was still alive when the Affordable Care Act passed, and I actually saw President Obama, I think it was 2016, he came down, and I said, Quentin's not in good health, but Barack called him that day to wish him well, because that was his mission in life, decent health care for everybody. And we have to keep on that mission for everybody in Evanston and Illinois, in America.
Governor Quinn, I really admired you tried to get the voter initiative passed here.
Yeah.
And I was watching that hearing.
Yeah.
Before you went to battle for us. And it was despicable how it all went down.
Don't remind me. No. Well, the now former alderwoman, she was not for our referendum, and to have her be a judge of whether or not it's on the ballot was quite disappointing. But never give up. We've got to keep on keeping on. We've got to make sure that people in Evanston have the same right to vote on issues as they do on candidates. And whether it's a liberal or a conservative issue, the initiative process is for everybody. It's what Brandeis said. The highest office is the office of citizen. And when citizens have a good idea for their town, for their community, they should be allowed to petition it onto the ballot. I can tell you, Malika, I remember being at the turkey trot here in Evanston, where we're getting signatures. A little bit cold, but we got those names, and people were willing to sign the petition to put it on the ballot. We filed a petition, I think it was my birthday, December 16th, 2019. Well, what's that day? It's the anniversary of the Boston Tea Party. That's where we told King George we don't like the way it's going, and we want a new country, we want a democracy. So we've got to have that same kind of we can do it attitude and spirit here in Evanston and everywhere else, Chicago. It's not easy in Chicago. There are some longtime politicians who don't want to change, but we the people need to do that. We need to wake them up, and the way to do it is with petition and referendum.
Well, I know you're a man about the people, so if anyone has a question, we're going to have you come to that mic over there.
Before we get a question, I really like where the people meet. This is what it's all about. People power. And that's really a lot of credit for putting the movement together. The great changes in our society have bubbled up from grassroots movements, not from the top-down leaders telling you why they're great people.
Can you hear me?
I sure can.
I agree with you that it's really important to work at the grassroots level. But right now, we have a presidential election coming up, and we have one candidate who is a very threatening candidate. And I just wondered, are you doing any work at a national level? And how do you feel about what's happening at a national level?
Well, it's a very good question, and I think we've talked today about democracy and grassroots working together to make changes. And I think that's a key issue in the race for president. But for all of us in Illinois, we're not too far here in Evanston from Wisconsin. I have cousins who live in Wisconsin. That's what's called a battleground state in the presidential election. So if you have a candidate that you want to support for president, then, and we might think about knocking on doors in Wisconsin. The same way, I have other friends in Michigan and also Minnesota. A lot of cousins in Minnesota. We've got to make sure that we understand that winning elections is all about grassroots activity, knocking on doors, making phone calls. I was down in Kankakee yesterday. We have a program called Portrait of a Soldier, and we're right before Memorial Day here, and we lost over 300 Illinois servicemen and women who were killed in action in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I had a fellow on my staff when I was governor. He hand drew portraits of all these men and women, and it has a portrait, and also we put them all together. It's over 300. It's at the Kankakee Library. Very powerful. And one of the moms came up from Pinckneyville. Her son died 19 years ago. This very day that we're taping the show, Malika, 19 years ago. He was 26. He'd be 45 today. But he believed in democracy. He believed that everybody has an important vote, and we should always protect our democracy. And Lincoln said that at Gettysburg in 1863, 272 words, Gettysburg Address, government of the people, it shall not perish from this earth. So we the people have to protect our democracy. And I do believe in hard-fought elections. This will be a hard-fought one. I have a candidate I'm supporting, the incumbent president, but the way to do it is to make sure we roll up our sleeves and, knock on those doors, especially. That's one of the very best ways to win elections, showing up and talking to people about why you are voting for that candidate. You can't say you're a grassroots person unless you really embrace initiative. Are the people in Madison, Wisconsin, the voters in Columbus, Ohio, or the voters in Iowa City, Iowa, are they smarter than the people of Evanston? So that those folks have initiative. They can vote on issues of referendum and put them on the ballot with petition. All over the Midwest this goes on. But here in Illinois, we're told over and over again, it's only the insiders who are smart enough to make these decisions. That, Sebastian, you got to lead the movement here, okay? You can do it. And that's what movements are all about. It's banding people together. Folks that maybe aren't always agreeing on every issue, but they do kind of believe that voters themselves should be able to vote on issues as well as candidates. And I think that's something that really means something.
I want to, because I know we've got to get you out of here and you've got commitments, but I've got one more final follow-up, and hopefully this is a message out to folks. But there are some elected officials, we've seen it here in Evanston, across the state, that would hear what you're talking about, voter initiatives and recall, and saying, well, you get a recall when I'm up for election in 4 years or 2 years, or there shouldn't be voter initiative because that's what you elected me for, right? I am that voice. Mm-hmm. What would you say to those elected officials who hold that point of view?
I'm very glad you brought that up, because this year, out of my own pocket, I paid for a poll of people in our state of Illinois, and I put those issues on. And I would say 80% of those responding, this was statewide polls and scientific, 80% favor recall. Not that they would use recall, but they think it should be on the books, because it tells that incumbent that, hey, if you get out of line there, then we have a power to do something about removing you from office before your term is up. Recall is used seldom, but when it's used, it's necessary. There are people who, like that guy in Eden, Oklahoma, he's going to go down to Charlottesville and preach hate. Voters back in Eden said, no, we don't want you as a council member anymore. The other thing about initiative is it's a safety valve. if the council, the mayor are not acting on behalf of the public, or they're just not responding, then people can go around them. Again, it's something that isn't going to be used all the time, but it's available to the voters. And I think here in Evanston, we've seen some issues where it is necessary. You know, that stadium issue with Northwestern, I didn't know all the details, but they wanted, one guy, Pat Ryan, wanted to tear down Ryan Field and build a new stadium. Okay, well, that's your opinion, but let's put it on the ballot, okay? Let the people of Evanston vote yes or no.
Right.
That's what we're trying to do in Chicago. Do we want to spend billions more dollars, including money from people here in Evanston or every other town in Illinois, for infrastructure for the Bears to build a new stadium on the lake? Is that a good idea? We should do what they did in Kansas City. Let's have a vote, a referendum vote. You know, under the Bears plan, they want to demolish Soldier Field that we just rebuilt 23 years ago. Soldier Field, I was looking up the history of it. It was built by referendum in 1920. People voted referendum to build it. Well, we ought to have a referendum right if they want to demolish it. And get this is the worst part, I think. The Bears not only want to tear down Soldier Field, that they demanded it be remodeled back a quarter century ago, but then they want to build this new stadium south of the current stadium, and they want to get the naming rights so that the new stadium will be Commonwealth Edison Park, brought to you by the Chicago Bears. And who gets the naming rights money? The Bears. Now, this is the wrong way to go. On public land, with public money, they want to build a stadium and they collect the money to name it. You know, that's out of hand. You know, it's a boondoggle. And that's why you have referendum, to say no to that kind of nonsense.
The last rehab, I call it, of Soldier Field, how much money did they spend?
Well, public money, $660 million. I was involved in that. Believe this would happen back then. The mayor of Chicago at that time, fine fellow, but he made a mistake. He had a negotiator who gave the Bears the naming rights to Soldier Field as part of the deal in 2001. And the deal was the Bears were going to sell the name for $300 million for themselves. And it was going to be Preparation H Park at Soldier Field. I'm just kidding about that, but it could have been. Instead, they sold it to a bank. It was called Bank One Park at Soldier Field. Bank One was giving them the money. The Bears were going to collect it. The president of the Bears never, ever forgave me for that, because we started a movement and we gathered signatures on a petition. And we put on the mayor's precinct ballot in Chicago, Mayor Daley's precinct, should the good name of Soldier Field be sold and the money given to the Bears? Well, believe it or not, voters voted no. Yeah, they don't want that. We don't want that naming rights deal. And so that's the power of petition. You can do it here in Evanston. We've got to build it. We got a great team here, Malika and all the folks who are meeting us on TV. Come on, everybody in, nobody left out. That's our slogan. And, you know, we can make it happen.
That was awesome.
Insightful.
Yes.
Oh, incredibly insightful. And I hope it was for everybody that's up here too.
Yes.
I mean, it's not every day that we get an elected official, especially one that's served as governor of Illinois.
One of the good things that he talked about was about the grassroots, which is kind of like the same thing like the three of us, that we believe in getting Evanston informed. You know, sometimes not everybody has the focus to ask questions, which is why we're up here asking them for the residents of Evanston, and yet pointing in the right direction what people need to ask about.
Yes, we need to ask more questions.
We might not always agree on all the issues,
No.
but that's one thought that we always do agree on.
Yes. There's always more than one view.
Mhm.
But God, wouldn't that be great if we had that referendum, if we got stuff going
Yeah.
like that in Evanston? Are you
do it.
kidding?
Definitely.
think there'd be.
We have Alderperson Claire Kelly in the house. She's the one. Don't get it done.
No, definitely. I mean, I find it, you know, I do find it interesting. I mean, we've seen, because I have heard of elected officials that, you know, are currently serving in Evanston City Council, you know, talk about, you know, Evanston Voter Initiative. And again, that they are the elected officials that have been brought on and have been charged to lead the city of Evanston. But I mean, we've seen this most recent Congress that's going on right now that they have not been able to pass anything, right? That let alone, I mean, I believe it was even the current Speaker of the House, who's incredibly conservative, had talked about the fact that they can't even bring post office naming on the floor. And that has been problematic, right?
And yet they tout their own agendas.
Yeah. And so, you know, we see that and we recognize that government does have the ability to be dysfunctional at times. Obviously, we don't want that, but people are people, right? And obviously relationships are complex. And if the residents of Evanston or the residents of the state of Illinois feel so passionately about a given issue, I would think that the will of the people, in the end of the day, that is the ultimate guiding force of what we ought to do, especially get on so many key issues. I mean, I'm really looking forward to, you know, leading up to the 2025 election, and quite frankly, one of my favorite pieces alongside when I was running and having conversations with people was the idea that even when we're having conversations about complex issues and difficult conversations like we do on the stage, that those conversations then move the needle on those issues, right? And now we are more aware about those issues and we're more willing to act on those issues and then vote on them. And I mean, we're gonna be having a conversation with a fantastic nonprofit organization later.
Yes.
That's doing some great work, and obviously there is still more work to do in the city of Evanston.
Absolutely. You know, I did send out invites to, you know, a few people who oppose the voter initiative, but they didn't want to be questioned. I wonder why. Why do you think that is? They don't want to come on the stage to talk about why you wouldn't want that. But hey, we got a new election coming up, so what are we going to do?
Yeah. Keep on working.
Keep
So
on
grassroots organizing.
Just really like the concept of people coming together, getting an opinion of the people who live, the people who live in Evanston, and just the nice mixture of socioeconomic, different people groups, ages. So yeah, and I wanted. Plus, I don't really know Malika, but I wanted to find out what this was.
So this was the third episode, and it keeps getting larger, and we need more and more people to come out and really participate and be engaged. We need to be engaged in these time periods. So come out and be engaged, ask the questions you want to ask, find out the information you need to find out. This is an important year. better now than any time. So, thank you.
Okay, take 3. And we're back. Right now, we have our distinguished guest, Patti Capouch of Impact Behavioral Health Partners.
Yes,
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. For those who might not know about us, I'll just give a little bit of history. We've been providing services to the community for over 35 years. And how we started was our founders, it was at a time when mental institutions were being shuttered, and they wanted those folks coming back to the community to have a safe and dignified place to live. And so they came together to provide that with them, and so we started out primarily then as a housing organization. We then added behavioral health and employment services, and just recently started doing family supportive housing programs. So yeah, we've been providing services for over 35 years. And yes, the city funds us for case management and, as I said, some therapy programs, but the majority of our funding comes from federal, state, foundations, and donations is where we get the majority of our funding.
Yeah, the little bit of research that I did on our guest, I didn't see a lot of that, which I'm glad that you informed us, because community cares, or at least it's supposed to. And when I read about your family services, housing, and I thought that was an awesome focus, you know, to provide housing for families like that.
Yeah, that's a pretty new program for us. We're just going on the second year, so I think that's probably a well-kept secret that we don't want to keep secret any longer, so I'm glad I'm up here talking about that today. But we have 7 families now in our family program. It's about 18 kids then that were unhoused now, and what Impact does is permanent supportive housing, so it's a little bit different. It's like for us, we do need permanent, and when families or our participants that are single, they come in and they are housed with us as long as they like. And we have had participants who've been with us 30 plus years, 20 plus years, 10 plus years. And for the families, they can stay with us until their youngest hits 24. Wow. And so for us, we've got infants in the program that have just been born, and we've got all the way up kids now to 18, but their parents, the identified adult in the family has to have a diagnosed mental illness to fit with our mission. And so yeah, they can stay until they're 24. And then we'll help the adult find an apartment with us once their kids move out. But yeah, so it's well kept secret, but we're hoping, currently we're funded through state funding with ARPA, but we hope to, we've been applying for grants and things, trying to set us up for the next years moving forward.
It's Mental Health Awareness Month, right?
Yes, so I'm so glad I'm here today.
I'm glad more and more people are talking about mental health, because we were just talking on the break that it's still that stigma attached to it.
Yes.
And like, well, how can we get over that? I'm glad we have Mental Health Awareness Month so that people know, you know, pay attention to this, and everyone knows someone who might be suffering from some mental health issues.
Correct.
And I had never heard of Impact until this year.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, I heard about it from Lori Flanagan.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what you all do for the families. And you take care of them until their youngest turns 24. That's like unheard of.
That's correct. Yeah, we're small but mighty. But I think, you know, talking about the stigma, this certainly helps, right? In coming and talking about it. But I think that for our participants, well, you referenced everybody knows somebody that has maybe mental health struggles, but it is 25% of adults have a diagnosable mental illness. Now, whether they're being treated for it or not, you know, who knows? But I think that that's part of the problem is the stigma. People don't reach out for services or don't want to go to a therapist because of the stigma surrounding that. And I think that the work that we do, because we work primarily with zero income, low income folks who have Medicaid, we are working with and some of them, like for example in our employment program, we work with 3 different federally qualified health centers. We work with Erie Family Services, PCC Wellness, and then Howard Brown Health, and we bring our employment services to their folks that they're serving that have mental health challenges. And a lot of their patients that come to the health will come just to maybe get their meds that they need for behavioral health. And then they might meet with a psychiatrist or a therapist or something. And then in that discussion, it would be, they would say that they want to look for employment, and then that's when they get referred to us. So we have a variety of different programs, but I think one thing just about that employment program, we're one of the most successful in the state. I can talk about that a lot as well. In addition to our, we won an international award last year. For the most innovative employment program in our particular space, and we were nominated by actually the Department of Rehabilitation Services and the Department of Human Services, so it was great. But more importantly, this year, since July, we've helped 206 participants get jobs, and and some of them are getting great jobs. It's across a variety of employers, and that also helps with the stigma, right? Because you would think sometimes that people with mental illness, they can't work, they don't want to work, but that is not true. And we've gone from serving around 200 participants when I started. This year, when we finish the fiscal year, we'll have served over 800, and the growth primarily is in our employment program. So people want to work, our participants are working, and they're very successful at doing it, and that's going to help with the stigma.
Your waiting list must be really long.
Yeah, that we have waiting lists for our therapy program, our housing program, our employment program, and our case management program. So yeah, I think that's one of the things that I know we're still sort of pandemic-ish, but as you know, I think everybody knows that the COVID-19 pandemic really exacerbated mental health challenges, and I think for folks seeking out services, there's just not enough therapists, there's not enough folks for people to talk to, so there's been waiting lists in a variety of areas, but we're always searching for new funding to try to help with that.
You were saying, going back to the stigma, so you have a lot of people just functioning in the world with great jobs. They're executives, entertainers, Diddy, all sorts of just functioning, and like, how do people know that they're in a crisis, a mental health crisis? Because apparently, people, they're just functioning, they're just going about the world and moving up the ladder, but they have issues, and those issues come back. Like Diddy is the perfect example. Those demons come back, and now he's losing everything because he didn't deal with those issues, whatever those issues were.
Right. And we have, there's been, Simone Biles has been pretty open now about her mental health challenges, and the more people with more followers or more influence, the better for us when they talk about their mental health challenges, because that really does help to destigmatize, because it's an illness just like any other illness, and that's the thing that we try also to, if we have participants who come to us and are feeling some sort of shame around their mental illness, we talk to them and say, listen, it would be no different than if you had diabetes or high blood pressure or something. It is an illness, and we're going to help you through it. And I think if we just meet people where they're at, we are not judgmental, and if the world could sort of be a little bit better about that, people wouldn't be so fearful to seek out help.
Definitely. I'm a recent college grad, and like many college students, I had plenty of times during my time at Purdue and in Indiana struggling with mental health, right? And some of the resources that were available were definitely not up to what I would believe should be the standard of mental health care. what do you see, in terms of Evanston? What are we doing good, and then what can we be doing better to kind of fill in those gaps? Because what I'm hearing from you is that this is a fantastic organization that's part of our community, right? And there are other nonprofits that are also trying to cover these gaps, right? But obviously that's not always complete. So what are we doing well here in Evanston, and what can we be doing better to really serve the people that are part of our community?
Well, that is a hard question to answer, and I say that because there are so many competing causes and issues for funding, right? And I think it's trying to decide with a limited amount of resources where you're going to put the funding, say for the city, for example. But one thing I know is that the city has a committee for human services, and that committee, members on that committee do reach out to leaders of nonprofits to talk about things happening, and there's a lot of really great organizations here in Evanston doing good work, and we're all just trying to serve our participants and serve our clients and things. And we do have, I'm co-chair of the city's mental health task force along with Cindy Castro. She's the director of behavioral health at Ascension Hospital, and we have probably 15 or so organizations that are part of that task force, and we meet to talk about issues. And we have, for example, advocated, we just want to see money coming into nonprofits. So we're pretty collaborative, right? And as opposed to being competitive, we just want to see more services. One example I can give you is Turning Point. Their main office is in Skokie, but they have what's called the living room, and the living room model it's an alternative to someone who's having a mental health crisis go into the emergency room, right? They would go to the living room. The living room has peers who have been through it, and they also then can kind of triage what their issues are. If they need to go to the emergency room, they will, but they can also find out what these other issues are. And often it's because they have no resources, they can't pay their rent, they might be behind and just really struggling because of that. They might have substance use issues, or it might be mental health. So Turning Point's been doing that very successfully for years, and they have been serving Evanston residents. So they have now, it's been a year and a half or so. They came to Evanston, and there's been support and backing from the city, and the task force actually advocated at the city council to try to, talk about how many folks we could be serving. Impact is one of the partners, so it's Turning Point. Ascension donated a bungalow. I think they're charging like $1 a year to Turning Point, but they're remodeling it right now. I think it's going to be a month or so, and that's going to be up and going. So it's going to be Turning Point. Impact, our part is if the person coming in crisis needs employment, then they'll refer to us. If it is substance use, peer services will be a partner, and then Ascension with the building. So, and then Turning Point will do all the behavioral health care. So that's a great example of organizations coming together, advocating, trying to get more resources, because I think that's really something. Our emergency rooms, they're not social workers. They, I have a niece who's an ER nurse, and I can't tell you how many times she's come to me and said, it's like we are in the social work space, and that's not what we're experts at. So I think having this alternative, I think Turning Point, one of their presentations, like their percentage of folks that go to the ER after coming to them with this living room model is like 1%, like 99%, they're able to help them. And so that we're going to have that in Evanston pretty soon. But that's an example of really trying to figure out ways that we can help with the community and try to bring more services.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much for all that you do.
Fantastic.
I don't know if anyone had a question before we let Patti go? Any questions? No stigmas here. Absolutely not.
Yeah, what I would like to know is, I think it's wonderful that you're here and you are speaking about this, but I've never seen you before. What other kinds of things are you doing to get the word out about your services?
Well, I try to speak in front of Rotaries. I've done all the Rotary clubs. I've gone to churches to speak. I've gone to not just their meeting of leaders, but I've gone to speak to different congregations. So, and we have staff members. We try to, if there's a conference or something, we try to do a panel presentation to raise awareness to. So we're trying to get out there. I think that, you know, up until Lori actually is our director of development, until we had her, we didn't really have anybody helping us push any marketing, and so we're getting better at that as well. But yeah, we've been trying to do that for a while.
And
Where are you located?
Oh, can I quickly add to that that question, because I think that's a fantastic question. And in one of my capacities, right, and some of the random things that I do, you know, I'm the president of Community Alliance for Better Government, and on April 20th we had a housing forum. It was joint between Evanston and Skokie to talk about some of the housing issues that are prevalent in both of our communities and how they're different, how they're similar, how we can work together to fight some of these issues. And Impact Behavioral Health was one of our partners in this work, and we had panel members, we had someone who utilized some of Impact's services come up and speak to her experience and how that shaped her life and how that's advanced her career and has helped her family. And coming to community events like that is so incredibly important, because there are so many people across Evanston, right, where, you know, we should be at farmers markets, right, and being and talking and having conversations to our residents and say, like, look, these are some of the resources available. If you need help, tell us.
I will say it's frustrating for us sometimes, because we'll put out a press release about something like a grant that we've gotten or something. We don't get very much traction. Like the Roundtable has done a couple articles. The Daily Northwestern's probably done the most articles, I think, on us. But it's really hard. Like, we'll send the press release, we'll try to contact, we'll email reporters, things like that. But we don't get a whole lot of traction. We're a smaller nonprofit here, and I think sometimes, you know, it's harder. I don't mean this in a competitive way, but some of the larger nonprofits, they get their press releases picked up where we might not.
Well, we're going to push you out there.
Thank you, thank you, I appreciate
We're gonna push you
that.
out there.
Yeah.
You're on the spotlight today.
Thank you.
Be sure to come back. The door is always open.
I will. Well, you asked me, I'll be back. So I have a lot more I can talk about. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, and we'll be right back.
Thank you. Yes, and then
just really like the concept of people coming together, getting an opinion of the people who live, the people who live in Evanston, and just and the nice mixture of socioeconomic, different people groups, ages. So yeah, and I wanted. Plus, I don't really know Malika, but I wanted to find out what this was.
So this was the third episode, and it keeps getting larger, and we need more and more people to come out and really participate and be engaged. We need to be engaged in these time periods. So come out and be engaged, ask the questions you want to ask, find out the information you need to find out. This is an important year, better now than any time, so thank you.
Get that information out, absolutely. So our next guest, you know, we love to celebrate the arts here in Evanston. Not just Evanston, but Chicago, the North Shore, like that's one of our things is art and entertainment, and we're all about celebrating that as well. So we have a very special guest coming up, and he's actually going to perform a song for us a little later as well. But I have heard this man play. Goodness gracious, so smooth.
I know, I heard him earlier, and I'm like, oh, I'm trying to focus on my notes, and I'm like, I can't, this music is too good.
It feels so good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we are going to bring up a wonderful musician right here in Evanston, Donovan Mixon.
I'm good. Thank you. I'm good. I'm very happy to be here.
Yes, yes. Welcome to Where the People Meet.
Yes. Congratulations. This is the second one.
This is our second episode. We're getting it going. Yes.
That's always going to be at the church now?
Oh no, we're going to different locations. We're bringing it to the people.
Oh, great.
Absolutely, bringing it to the people. So we're going to be in different locations every month.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes,
That's great.
yes. So welcome.
Thank you.
Now you are a man about town. Who here has been to a Donovan show? Yes.
Yeah.
There's some folks in the crowd there.
Yes, I mean, and you draw a crowd.
Yes, it's been very, been very well populated recently, you know, and it's catching on a little bit. Yeah.
Yes, I know I said Evanston, but you're a man about the world, actually, a musician about the world.
Yeah, I've been around. I've been around a little bit.
He's modest.
Yes. But Donovan's Garage, yes, and since last October, it's been happening, and here in the church, thanks to Stephen Rogers. Stephen Rogers was inspired to get in touch after an article came out that Gay Reisenberg, she wrote in the round table about our activities in my actual garage on Cleveland Street. And that had been going on since the COVID pandemic, just doing garage concerts. And so, but then Gay decided, I'm gonna write about it. And the next week, 200 people showed up in the alley. I have the pictures to prove it. It looked like Ravinia, and it was really exciting and very surprising. And so Stephen Rogers, the owner of the church, he got in touch and asked if I wanted to continue here during the winter months, you know, because usually I would stop around the end of September, stop in the alley. I said, sure. Once I saw the place, too, with the posted seats and so forth, the sound is really great. So we've been doing it once a month since October. The next one, which will be the last one in the church for the season, will be next on the 28th of this month, on the May 28th at 7 o'clock, and it's going to be a free-form jazz concert. But the point of Donovan's Garage, every time it's different. It's an improvised music, but it's different bands, different combinations of musicians. We had classical music, jazz, we had progressive jazz, we had lastly what was it, hard bop quartet played, and that was really off the hook. And we had Brazilian jazz band play, and that band coincidentally is going to be playing on the 25th in the Brazilian Festival this year in Michigan Avenue. And so, as a result of this, many things have been stirring up, and I've been meeting a lot of new musicians, that I knew of, or I had played once in jam sessions. So I get to assemble these different ensembles and do different kinds of music.
Yeah, if you haven't seen him perform, you have to check it out. I came here that one night you had the Brazilian band, and I wanted to get up and dance, but it was in a church. So I was like, I don't know if I should be shaking it up in a church, but the music just felt so good. You guys are really, really good.
And we had a couple of kids got up and played percussion with us. So that was very nice. Yeah.
Donovan, with everything that's going on in the world right now, like how is that impact? Like you were here listening to the governor and Patti with Impact, with all that's just going on in the world and how it just weighs on us too. Like how does that impact? Do you use all of that in your music, or how's that impacting the industry?
It's just that the artists are going to save us.
The artists are going to save us?
Yeah, I'm starting to come to that conclusion. Yeah, the artists are going to save us because it's artificial intelligence,
Right.
It's in the name. And so I believe that because artists, we show reality in its most darkest form. And that you can't get from a machine. I still don't believe it. It's these are great facsimiles of reality. They're great and they're great tools and so forth. But artists, that's what gives life. It's juice. Yes.
Yes. I've asked people what name a career that AI will not take over, and it's always either artist or a chef. So artist, or which is kind of the same. A chef is kind of an artist.
Yeah, certainly, but it's gonna give the danger is it's gonna give some very serious facsimiles of art, and a lot with marketing and everything. It's gonna get passed over, and as if it's art, unfortunately. But I believe, I think the artist is gonna play. Actual artists are actually going to play a bigger role in saving us, so to speak.
Can I just say something about AI? I'm an artist and a visual artist, and I've used AI, but not to create a work. What I use it for is a variety of things, and I think it will be used a lot in creating work because artists can manipulate AI in many different ways. So for instance, if I say I want to just create a climate change scene, and then I want to cut it up and collage it along in a painting that I'm doing, I can do that. So AI is a tool to be used.
Your art lies in your choices. You know what I'm saying? So, our descendants, African slaves, were brought here and given everything taken away culturally, and then given this another musical system and so forth, and took the Western musical system and chose other notes, other combination of notes from the same notes that was used by the Europeans, and created the music that makes American music what it is right now, blues and jazz. So it's really the choices. So yes, AI is a tool, and
Right.
I've used it. So I can do something much more quickly. But I can't use it for art.
Soul. It doesn't
I
have a
can't use
spirit.
it for actual art. I can use it for ideas to create ideas and prompts, so to speak, if you do a writing class or workshop, and the person comes up with a prompt, okay, then you as the artist have to make the choices how to use that.
Right.
So
AI is definitely taking over the world, but I don't believe it'll ever take away the soul and the spirit of an artist.
No, it won't.
Absolutely, absolutely.
no, I don't fear it.
Donovan, where can people download your music? Where can they find your music?
Well, you can find out my music at Bandcamp, bandcamp.com. I go to my name and I sell music there. And please go to donovanmixon.com and check out the activities of the garage, because I post. And I post video excerpts from the garage concerts on YouTube and Facebook. There's a Facebook page. So if you want to learn about the garage, it's all there. There's no excuse. Just look at it.
And I know you're about to perform a song for us, and it's a new song. Could you tell us a little bit about it before we dive on in?
Well, no, it's not a new song. We're just going to play something, improvise on a tune.
I like it.
Yeah, it's not a new song, unfortunately, but next time, perhaps.
Okay, sounds good. We'll book it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Donovan.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and doors always open to you
Thank
too. We
you.
love some good music.
And good luck with this. This is beautiful.
Thank you. So we're gonna close out.
Oh, still here. Hi. This is Derek Lays. He's a bassist and has been here a number of years now.
A number of years, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know, but it's been a number of years.
From New York, I believe, and he's a great bassist. And I was really happy he said he would come and join us today. We'll play a brief rendition of McCoy Tyner's "Three Flowers." I haven't talked to McCoy Tyner about this before, but I assume he calls it Three Flowers because it's in 3/4 and it's in 3 keys. And what else? What would be the third thing? 3 keys and 3/4. What would you say, looking at the song?
Maybe you played it with the trio.
Maybe play it with a trio. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
like the concept of people coming together, getting an opinion of the people who live, the people who live in Evanston, and just the nice mixture of socioeconomic, different socioeconomic, different people groups, ages. So yeah, and I wanted. Plus, I don't really know Malika, but I wanted to find out what this was.
So this was the third episode, and it keeps getting larger, and we need more and more people to come out and really participate and be engaged. We need to be engaged in these time periods. So come out and be engaged, ask the questions you want to ask, find out the information you need to find out. This is an important year, better now than any time, so thank you.